Hello and welcome to another edition of Monday Motivation with Bukola. It's a show about inspiration, women empowerment, beauty, business, money, culture, entertainment, and advocacy. And today I bring you another lipstick, lip balm, and literacy virtual book reading series from my Facebook page. And the author I interviewed is Professor Joseph Mbele from St. Olaf College, Northfield, Minnesota. Wow, he shared about folktales and his book on folktales. The folktales from his own culture, Metango, and using that book to teach at the university here in Minnesota. And it was fun, it was enlightening. He even gave tips also about book publishing, and he talked about readers being the gatekeepers. I won't give it all away. I want you to go and watch for yourself. And that brings me to the quote of the day. The quote I'm sharing today is actually from our guest, Professor Mbele. He said, "We should have high goals even when we can't achieve them." Wow. We should have high goals even when we can't achieve them. What does that mean? That means set up a very high goal for yourself. Don't set small goals, set high goals. Even when that goal look like it's unattainable or unachievable, still set the bar high. It pushes you to strive for the best, and it pushes you to bring out the best in you. So let's set high goals. What goals are you setting for yourself this week? Write it in the comments. Thank you so much. Now let's go and listen to Professor Mbele and learn from his wealth of knowledge. Thank you, those of you who came in now. Thanks for joining us live today. It's another lipstick, lip balm, and literacy virtual book reading series on Facebook, where we feature authors and their expertise, and also use the opportunity to inspire prospective authors out there. And today I have a very special guest for you. Is Professor Joseph Mbele from St. Olaf College in Northfield, Minnesota. Professor, thank you for joining us on this show today.
Thank you.
I know we had technical glitches and all that, but thank God we're able to make it happen. And special thanks to Zawadi, our technical engineer in Northfield, for helping us make this happen today. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Oh, Pastor Ayadele, thank you for coming in. So a little bit about Professor Mbele. He's a professor at the English department at St. Olaf College, and he teaches literature. And he has done many books. He will be telling us about the books he's done today. But the one book that I'm going to be making reference to right now is his book on folktales. And the folktales is from his own cultural heritage in Tanzania, Matengo. Did I get that right?
Yes, you got it right.
So, Professor, you did a folktale on the Matengo culture. The first question is, maybe before I go into even question, first of all, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Honoring the invite to come on the show. It's really good to have you here. Thank you so much, Sam. So, what led you to writing folktales in the first instance?
Thank you. That's a very good question. Very good question. I grew up in a rural place in southern Tanzania. And in those days, you know, in the early 50s, 1950s, we did not have television. So what did we do for entertainment? We listened to stories. We created our own forms of entertainment, and storytelling was one of those. We would hang around, you know, listen to stories, participate in telling stories and singing the songs. And so that's how I grew up. That's the background. And when I was in college, University of Dar es Salaam, I took a lot of interest in the course that was called oral literature. And that really enhanced my desire to really go deep into the culture I grew up in. And I studied that course and was inspired to collect, or as you wish, you can say, to record the folk tales. So as an undergraduate, I started recording these tales. I would be going to my village and carrying my little tape recorder, and that's how I started recording them in my mother tongue. And then for a lot of time, for a lot of years, maybe 20, I was trying to translate these and write commentaries on them. And after those 20 years, I decided to publish the book.
Wow, 20 years is a very long time.
Very.
Why did you wait for 20 years before
Good question.
to a book?
Good question. Translating a folk tale in itself is very hard work. You know, you took the story, you took the tape, and you listened to every sentence in your mother tongue. Every sentence, you try to render it in English. It's very difficult. One sentence, and you go through the whole tale, and you look at it again, you listen to the original recording, you realize there is something not right. You put it aside. You come back to it after some weeks or months. I mean, one tale could take you forever. And then you have songs sometimes in the tale. You revise the translations. You put them aside. You get exhausted. Sometimes you almost give up. So you rest for months sometimes. That's why it took so many years. I was not working every day, of course. Now, in terms of writing the commentaries on those tales, that's a lot of thinking also, a lot of research, and that takes time. You got to read and reread and read and reread what you have written. And then you read academic books about the various dimensions of a folk tale. You just want to get it right. So those commentaries took a long, long time also. So your question, why did it take so long? You know, that's what I can tell you. It is hard work, but very satisfying, very satisfying. You know, you do a lot of work, you realize it's not good enough. You keep working. And that's a lesson for writers. That's a lesson for writers. You don't have to rush anything. If you want it to be good, it will take a long, long time.
Wow. If you want to be good, it's going to take a long, long time.
Yes.
So, are you saying in essence that writers who want to write, they don't have to rush it, or if it's something as deep as a folk tale, they just need to take the patience to put the work into it, and it's okay to rest in between?
That's correct. That is correct. Unless you have a deadline, you know, sometimes you have to write, you know, by a certain date, you have to submit what you wrote. I did not have a deadline, so I could take many months off the work. When you have a deadline, it's another story, and that's terrible. We put people through a lot of deadlines, including my students. I do tell them it's very unfair. that we give you deadlines. And I sometimes have deadlines when I have to review a book for an academic journal or something, but oftentimes I don't have a deadline. It's my own work.
So, would you say that you didn't have deadline on this book and it
No.
took so long because it was self-published?
Exactly. It was a labor of love. I was doing it for myself. I wanted to do it as well as I could for the world, but I was not under any pressure to finish it by a certain time. That is the story. It was completely up to me, and it's really a joy when you have that kind of leisure to do something like that at your own pace.
So, this book, is that your very first book?
The second. We are talking about this one here.
Okay.
This is the second.
Okay.
I had published an earlier one, believe it or not, as an undergraduate student. It was published in Kenya. I edited a collection of essays, essays by other people, but there was also an essay by me. It was published in Kenya by the Kenya Literature Bureau. That was my first book. And then came this one, the Folktales one, which was published in 1999.
Wow, 1999.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, almost 20 years.
Yes, so I started in the 70s, you know, recording those tales. Somewhere around 1976. Yep.
And when it comes to self-publishing, because even me today that I'm a self-published author, and my 7th book was released last week or so. Was it last week? My
Congratulations.
Was released, yes, and it will be launched on the 28th or 29th of this month on Lipstick, Lip Balm and Literacy. So I owe that gratitude to you, because you were the one that showed me about self-publishing. I didn't know anything about self-publishing until I cried out in the newspaper and you reached out to me. So yeah. I know that self-publishing has become very popular now, and the trends have changed from when you started till now.
Yes.
What would you say the trend has been? What has changed? Do you notice anything that has changed for the better, and what has changed for the bad, you know, that we need to be aware of?
Yeah, that's a very good question. That's a very good question. There's a lot of controversy around self-publishing. You know, there are people who will say the facilities we have today, you know, whereby everybody or anybody can publish a book, they will say it compromises quality. You know, there's no gatekeeping. You know, there's no control. You can publish anything, and so a lot of crap is being published out there. That's a complaint, and it has to be taken seriously. And the person who goes that way, who wants to do self, should keep that in mind, and maybe use, you know, the opportunity to consult people, and not just, you know, write and publish. There are people who can help to make your work, you know, very good, and then you can meet the criterion of, you know, good standards. But on the other hand, I looked at myself. I know my field. You know, if the world allows me to teach, you know, in a university, you know, that means they trust me, and they don't come to my classroom to watch what I'm saying and how I am saying it. So I'm a bit stubborn in that sense. And so I decided I will write my book my own way and publish it myself, my own way. I did not want anybody to interfere with anything. And so I wanted the world to judge what I wrote, knowing I am the only person who wrote that. So I think there's also a way one can justify, self-publishing. And there are many self-published books which are actually used, in schools. My own books are used in colleges in the United States, universities in the United States. I will never claim that they are perfect. There's no book that is perfect. So mine are not perfect. I know it. And I know I could revise them a bit more. But you know what? There is no book in the world that's perfect.
Exactly. Thanks for coming in, Chika. And talking about perfection, even sometimes some of the textbooks that we are asked to use in colleges, you will see sometimes typographical errors in it. And those are books that came from traditional publishers where they have line of editors to work on that. You said something earlier about gatekeeping and crap.
Yes.
You see?
Yes. Yes.
Gatekeeping and crap. You said because of self-publishing now, people can publish crap and there is no gatekeeping. Would you recommend that there should be some kind of gatekeeping for self-published authors? And if you do, what would those recommendations be?
Okay. Actually, it's a good question you are asking. One side of me says we need to democratize this business of writing and publishing. We need to give people a voice. We need to give every voice an opportunity to be heard. So just on the basis of my commitment to democracy, I would like to spread, the freedom of expression, the opportunities for people, to make their voices heard. So that side of me says, I welcome self-publishing. At the same time, what happens is this. After those books are published, readers decide whether they want to buy those books, and readers talk about those books. And I like to think that readers are intelligent. If you publish a book that's really horrible, people will hear about it. It's not going to be popular, I believe. I trust humans. I trust readers. So there's that side of me which says, society itself. I mean, people are spending their money. People are spending the money. Who wants to spend the money on crap? That is one thing that I have in mind when I say, I trust the readers. They are selective. I believe they are intelligent. And so things will sort themselves out. Let there be freedom of expression, but then, if I may use the term marketplace, let the marketplace decide.
Okay, so in essence, readers should be the gatekeepers.
I think there is a way in which I would justify that.
Okay.
Yeah, readers themselves, yeah.
Thank you, sir. And then, because you talked earlier also that as a self-published author, in the process of doing your book, you can really get it done really good. So by following certain criteria to make that happen. So what are those criteria that you self-publish to put into consideration when publishing their books?
Yeah, I think if you want to be a writer, or if you are a writer, the idea is you should really be a good reader. You should be reading a lot. And I think of something that Ernest Hemingway, the American writer, said about this, that if you are going out to be a writer, you need, first of all, to read all that has been written before you did your book, so that you know what you are up against. And you want to overcome, you want to excel, you want to beat that competition. That is his comment. I know for a fact we cannot have, easily, a lot of Shakespeare's today, a lot of, Achebes and Soyinkas. But we can have high goals. We should have high goals. We should have great ideals, even if we cannot accomplish them. So to be a good reader, to be an avid reader, that's a priority. I think that way you can pick up the knowledge of how, a good book is written. You can pick up a sense of what good writing is like. And not just reading, but you should really learn the language. I'm talking about translating Matengo tales into English. I need, first of all, to know that language, my mother tongue, to know it very well. And then you need to know the other language. In this case, it was English. And not just the language, but also, the culture. How do you render Submatengo concepts into English? And you know that English is very different. It comes from a different culture. It embodies different cultural perspectives. So you need to find a way to strike a balance, to be fair to the original and also to be fair to the target language. You don't want to trash the English, idiom, because you are too obsessed with how Matengo is structured. And you don't want to state something in English completely violating the original Matengo. So knowledge of language, in my case as a translator, but every writer does need to do a lot of work, improving their language, the ability to write well. So when I talked about CREP, I was not talking about only the content, but also the question of language.
Okay, thank you, sir. And Professor's book, if you want to get it, I put Professor's link in the description of this video for those of you here on Facebook. And if you are watching this on YouTube, you are going to get it on the screen, and you're also going to get it in the description. So, Prof, you just talked about the language and reading for writers, for those who want to self-publish their book. You talk about reading and language. What about other aspects of book publishing, aside from reading and then writing your outline or writing the content for the book or your manuscript, so to speak? What about the other aspect of book publishing that goes into it before it becomes an actual book? What would be suggestions in that area?
Yeah. As I said earlier, I think if you're not too sure about yourself and what you wrote, it's a good idea to show it to some experts. They can help identify, issues that you need to, fix. I think that's a good way to go. Just consult other people, show the manuscript to other people, so you get another opinion. They can catch typos, for example. They can help you straighten sentences or organize your chapters better, those kinds of things. Other than that, when you go online, because nowadays technology has advanced so much, and it advances very rapidly. Yes. There are different ways of publishing online, different ways, and you do some research, and you can select one that suits you. But the opportunities are there, and they are increasing, and just about anybody can publish their book now. And when I started, 1999, this thing we call, online publishing was just in its infancy, I would say. And nowadays, things have proliferated, and I've even lost, track of what's out there. You know better now than I do. I showed you the way, but you are way, way ahead of me now. I can tell you that.
I think that that's a compliment.
Yeah, it is very true. I follow your work and I'm like, oh, look at Bukola now. Where is she going? You know so much more now. Perhaps because of the age, you are younger than me. And they say you cannot teach old dogs new tricks. I'm one of the old dogs now. So I will be depending on you to teach me the new tricks.
thank,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Professor. I have another question, but this one is more of the stories in the folk tales.
Yeah, yeah.
How many stories do you have in that book to share?
10 stories, yeah.
Do you have your favorite one among them, and why?
That's a very good question. And so many people ask me that question. So many people. My answer is always not really, not really, because each tale is unique. Each tale is unique. So it's like you have a mango, a pineapple. What other sweet fruits do we have there? They're all,
Strawberry,
or pawpaw,
orange.
Yeah. And they are unique. Each one is good in its own way, very sweet in its own way. That's the way I look at stories, folk tales. That's the way I look at works of literature, actually. People ask me, who is your favorite writer? And I'm not able to answer that question because I look at writers from South Africa, writers from Nigeria, from Ghana, from Australia, from India, from England, from Jamaica. They are unique. Each one is unique, and I don't know which one to tell you is my favorite. So that's the story about my folk tales.
You just said the writers one. I'm still coming back to the folk tale, but the writers thing you just talked about now, about each writer being unique, and you mentioned all different countries,
Yeah.
from one region of the world to the other.
Yeah.
Would you say that there is one common similarities among all these writers?
I see. Okay, good question. I should say, when I talk about writers, as a person who teaches literature, I'm talking about writers who have created works that have enduring significance, works that really touch human beings across the world and across the ages. I'm not talking about some wishy-washy, writers who write something and it disappears after a year, I'm talking about those writers. So to come back to your question, I think one thing that unites them is what I would call humanism. They tend to be humanistic. They are very focused on the human condition. And they talk about universal human issues and problems. When I say universal, look at a novel like Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart. People all over the world, relate to it. The conflict, the anxieties, the challenges of life, the interplay between good and evil, oppression and freedom, relations between men and women, parents and children, upbringing of children, commitment to the community, the role of the individual in the community. These are themes that connect humans across the world. So those are the writers I'm talking about. And so to answer your question, I will say the connecting thread is that humanistic spirit, a focus on human beings and human needs and the human condition, and truly a sympathetic view of humanity, a rather optimistic view of humanity, a respectful view of humanity. That's what I see as the connecting thread of these great writers. Again, I'm not talking about some wishy-washy, writers who write, to make some quick money and then after a year, nobody remembers them.
So, in essence, would you say that human story is what will give a book longevity?
I think so. I think so. And that is true of the folk tales, by the way. That's very true of the folk tales. It's amazing, you as a Nigerian, you can read Chinese folk tales and you can see you are touched by those tales. You can read Native American tales. You can read Yoruba tales. I know you are Yoruba. I read Yoruba tales all the time and I relate to them. People look at my book of Matengo folk tales. It's the same thing. Americans read it. They can see, themselves represented there. That is what I'm talking about.
And
Yeah.
could you share one of the stories in the folk tales with us?
Say that again.
Could you share one of the stories in the folk tales with us?
Wow. How many minutes do you want me to give to this?
We have a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes.
Hey, 5 minutes. Which one should I tell? Oh, 5 minutes. 5 minutes. That's too short. Maybe another day. Maybe another day. Give me another day and we can actually, I will tell folk tales on your show. Oh yes, let's do that.
Okay.
Yeah, let's. I want to do justice to the tale. I want to do justice to the tale. So for that reason, give me another day.
Okay, definitely.
Yeah.
We're going to be booking you right away to come and tell us folk tales
on Absolutely. The show. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm going to come back to 2017 and the classroom. As a literature teacher, what are you seeing in the classroom when it comes to students and folk tales, or students and writings? Do you see your students being more eager to write, and are they actually writing books, or is just more of learning and moving on?
Good question. Yeah, it is a lot of learning. As I said, we read these folk tales to appreciate what our ancestors thought about the human condition, what they taught us about values and relationships, and issues like trust, and issues like just a realistic attitude to life. How complex human beings are, how challenging human relations can be. So students appreciate a deep insight into the human condition and human nature. Another thing, as a teacher of literature, I take the folk tales as an opportunity to show the students how literature, as we know it, owes a lot to the folk tradition of storytelling. And so you can take Shakespeare, you can take Achebe, you can take all of those people, and you can read their writings in a new way because you know how much they've borrowed from the oral tradition of storytelling. That helps people understand literature in a new way, that there is a continuity from the ancient art of storytelling to modern literature in terms of, written literature. So students appreciate that as well. And I want to inject that in the conversation as well.
Thank you so much, sir. I want to use this opportunity again to thank all those who joined us live today and those who will be watching the replay. And I want to use this opportunity to invite you, if you are an author and you want to be on this show, please contact me at info@bukolaoriola.com, or you can just send me a private message here on Facebook. And the Empowerment and Hope Summit is coming up in September 15 and 16. If you want to be a part of that, the link is in the description. And there's going to be a table for authors. In fact, I just got an offer today to bring a list of authors to have their books at the bookshop. So if you want to be a part of that, I would like you to sign up to be one of the authors for the Empowerment and Hope Summit, so that I can list your book for purchase, for bulk purchase by bookstore, to help you as an author and to get your word out there. So I would like to say that, Professor, could you give us your last words before you leave here today, sir?
Aha. I would say, since we are talking about folk tales, I would say we should really study these folk tales. They are the foundation of literature. They are the record of what our ancestors said. And for us as Africans, we need to go deep into those traditions so that we know storytelling and philosophizing and reflections on cultural values and the human condition is not something that we learned. Philosophy does not start, in ancient Greece. It's not only something you see in Plato and Socrates and all those people. Yes, we need to read the Greeks, but also, the great storytellers of Africa. And I could go on and on and on about this, like the great griots, reflective. So for Africans, returning to those roots, that's very important.
Wow. Thank you so much, sir. You've heard it, folktales, and we need to go back to our own stories and learn more about ourselves and our stories. And again, the link for Professor's contact is in the description. And those links goes to his website where you can also get copies of his book. So go ahead and get your own copy to learn more about folk tales in one of the African countries. So thank you so much, Professor. And our engineer, our technical engineer, Zawadi, special thanks to you for helping us out this afternoon. Thank you so much. Until next time, thank you so much, my people. It's kicked Professor off. And on that note, I want to thank you so much. God bless you and bye-bye to you all. My lipstick today, Infallible. You've seen this before, and Midnight Blue. That's what I'm wearing today. Midnight Blue by Mbele and Infallible by L'Oreal. Wow, did you see that? It was interesting, it was fun. I learned a lot myself, and I hope you did too. So thank you so much for joining me this time. I hope to see you next time on Monday Motivation with Bukola. Until then, stay fabulous. Bye-bye.